Following video is brought to you by the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. Please consider liking and subscribing for more Boston sports content.
The red, white, and blue. I can't lose with the red, white, and blue. My whole crew is the red, white, and blue. I represent the stars and stripes. I am a patriot, a true American. I am a champion, yes, and that's on everything. I will protect my home. I will defend, fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. I don't play to lose, nah, I play to win. Rain, sleet, or snow in the wingland. What? Let me say it again. I play to win. What it is tradition. I'm in the game, playing like Brady. 10 soldiers deep in the field, no Navy. Riding for my soldiers and they riding for me. No matter where I touch down, it's a TD. 2 hands up, yep. Field goal.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pat's Nation Nightly. My name is Zach Ventola, joined as always by Ben Belford-Peltzman, and we got a special guest here tonight for a little Patriots-Dolphins preview, Mike Oliva of Dolphins Talk. Ben, Mike, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing fantastic.
Yeah, I'm doing great. We just figured out off air that Mike here is actually from Syracuse, lives in Syracuse. So that was a little small word. And we are just very excited to have him on and preview this Miami Dolphins squad, which looks a little different from past years. Maybe not some of the, some players. Oh, I just tripped on my words there. A lot of the same players, but their results have definitely not been the same. They're not looking the same on offense or on defense. And Mike, I'll hit it to you first. What's been the main difference? Why that 33-8 defeat against the Colts at home on Sunday?
Yeah, they've lost a lot of key players over the past year, and they're replacing them with rookies, and they're on a little bit of a youth movement. The general manager, Chris Greer, it was kind of obvious to all of us who sort of follow the team each day. What happened this offseason was they let some guys go and they didn't really replace them. And then just I think like a week or two prior to the season, week 1, he said it was a financial reset this year, which makes all the sense in the world because they didn't spend a dime. They spent no money. They spent the bare minimum, and they're going on a youth movement to replace the guys they lost because, last offseason, they gave a lot of money to the quarterback, to Waddle, to Hill, to Ramsey, who's not here. They gave out a lot of big contracts, including to the head coach as well, which I know is not part of the cap, obviously. But they gave out a lot of money, and now it's like, well, we can't pay everybody. So some of these other guys who are making money, they got to go, and we're going to have to replace them with rookies who make next to nothing, and just guys who are journeyman types who just signed for like the vet minimum. And that's how you kind of get last week. And that, yeah, it's got some names on this roster, but it's also a flawed roster in a few areas. And even a middle-of-the-road quarterback like Daniel Jones can take advantage of those mistakes on a certain day.
Yeah, I think that was what jumped out the most, as you kind of touched upon there towards the end. Daniel Jones. And making Daniel Jones look how he did. That's a journeyman at this point who has been a backup for the last couple of years, has not looked good outside of his first season, maybe 2 seasons. And he tore up that Dolphins defense. Again, as Ben said, the Dolphins let him put up 33 points. That's significant for the Colts offense that is not considered to be anywhere near the top of the league, not even really considered to be an average offense. Letting them put up 33 points is very, very noteworthy. And also Miami's offense not being able to really do anything at all. First points of the game came while they were down 30-0. That's embarrassing, really, again, against such a bad team in the Colts.
Yeah, that's not good. Let's just break it down. That's not good. Keep it simple terms. There's a couple things. I think first off with Jones, I know I'm out a little bit on an island with this. His time with the Giants, he got beat up bad. Their offensive line was probably the worst in the league, and he took a pounding, and he had no one to really throw to there. So I think he got a little bit of a rap that was probably unfair because he did win a road playoff game with the Giants, which people forget. Like, he wasn't always bad. He won a road playoff game when they had some talent, but as the years went on, it got worse around him. So and plus we live in a world now, which it drives me nuts. On social media, people just like to pile on. Jones can't just be, an okay quarterback. He's the worst quarterback who ever played. And everyone just piles on. It's like, well, no, he's not that bad. Is he great? No, but it's like he's just like an average quarterback. And now, if you give him a little bit of time, like the Colts did, you give him a few guys who can, you give him Warren at tight end, one or two guys at wide receiver, Jonathan Taylor. Jones ain't all that bad. He never was that, but he just had no help around him. With the Colts, he's got a little help around him. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or be great, but that's like an 8 or 9 win team. That's not an embarrassing team, and he'll be okay. So there's that part of it where I think that shocked people, but it shouldn't have. It's just that in the social media world, everyone just likes to pile on and no one can just be like, okay, they got to be like the worst ever. And that drives me nuts. And it's just this Miami offense. Their offensive line was a question heading in. They lose 2 starters, 1 starter 4 plays in, a second one by like halftime, and it was just a disaster.
So that was what I was going to allude to next, is they just kept losing players left and right there. Tua 14 and 23, 211 passing yards, but he also had those 2 interceptions. It just looked like watching him, if his first read wasn't there, then he was kind of his brain became mush, right? He kind of held on to the ball too long. He didn't really know where to go with the ball. Just kind of looking for your thoughts on Tua in week 1 and where he has the most to improve in week 2.
Yeah, the first read thing, that's sort of been out there. Some, I know Xavier Howard said it this week and some other. That's not, it's true to a point. But it's like when you get no time and there's guys in your face, everyone is going to look flustered after their first read because you don't have time to go to your second read. So is it true? Well, yeah, but why is it true? Where's the context? The context is he had no time. Again, they were in his face literally within seconds. So it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, but, and I always hate those yeah, but arguments, but it's true. It's a yeah, but argument. They have to block for him better. And really the problem is, and this has been Mike McDaniel's problem heading into last year, is if they can't run the ball, they can't throw the ball deep. And when you fall behind so fast, so early by so many points, it's tough to try to establish the run because you have to play from behind all game. So you factor in, they know what you're going to do. You lose 2 offensive linemen and you have no time, and it's a recipe for disaster. And that's what it was last week.
And with Tua's performance, do you think he's going to be able to bounce back from it? At least I'm sure he's not going to have many weeks that were quite that bad. Like, I'm not saying, oh, will he be able to, or is he going to be like in the gutter all season? I know that's not going to be the case. But do you think he'll be able to go from a game like that to being pretty statistically good like he has been in seasons prior? Or do you think he'll kind of be more like average, slightly below average, that type
it's going to look like it did last year. This is the same, in some ways there's some new faces out there, but it's this, they have the same problems they had last year. That was very evident week 1. And, some weeks he's going to look fine. He's a pretty good quarterback. And then some weeks it's going to look like it did yesterday, because when they play teams with a pass rush, they're going to be able to get in his face, give him no time, and he's going to turn it over, and it's going to be ugly. So to me, what we saw week 1, it's not so much that they lost to the Colts on the road. There's in the NFL, losing on the road to anyone, there's kind of no shame in. But there is, you lose 27-24, lose 21-20, lose 20-17. Okay, they put up a fight. They came up short. It happens. No big deal. You move on. You lose the way they did, show that they didn't put up a fight, that there's major issues with this team. And it looked like the same team that was in 2024. And they've all offseason they spoke, we're going to change the culture. We got to fix this. We got to fix that. It looks like they fixed nothing. And I know it's just one game, but for the fans of this team, it's not just one game. It's year 4 of this head coach, and the same problems just persist week after week, year after year. And that's the red flag most fans are seeing with the Dolphins.
So the Dolphins went ahead and picked up Cole Strange this week, a former Patriots guard who got released just after roster cutdowns. Is there a lot of change happening on that line for someone who's covered the team? Is it mainly due to injuries or also performance?
No, this is just because of injuries. They had to put – so the one guy they spent a little bit of money on was offensive guard James Daniels. And like I said, 3 or 4 plays into the game, he hurt his pec, and he's out for a month on IR. So they have their second string right guard, Keon Smith, will start, but now they just needed someone else to fill that spot for a month. So they signed Cole Strange off the practice squad of the Browns. I don't expect him to play. He's just on the roster there in case of emergency. And at right tackle, Austin Jackson, who missed pretty much all at camp with a toe injury. Someone stepped on his toe, and he was out like a month of training camp, which is pretty much all training camp. He played a half, and then he got hurt again with the same toe. He's not playing this week. If he's out long-term, I don't know, but he won't be there this week. So the right side of the line this week's all new, and it's bad. They're starting Larry Bourne and Keon Smith. So if the Patriots can't get past those two guys who are going to be like 2 traffic cones out there, that should be easy to just run around or run through them. Something wrong with the Patriots then. You should have success on the right side of that line because those 2 guys aren't good who are going to be out there. I've seen Larry Bourne enough just in August against second stringers and third stringers get beaten like a drum. Keon Smith was out all last year with a knee injury. He really isn't even a true – he's more of like an offensive tackle, but he has to play guard now. It's like if the Patriots can't get a pass rush on Sunday, they got issues themselves.
So one really big player who always makes an impact against the Patriots is Tyreek Hill. And he's kind of slowed down his production in the last part of last season and then obviously in week 1. Do you expect another big game out of Hill against the Patriots? And what are your opinions on that?
I don't expect anything from Tyreek Hill at this point. Tyreek Hill has so much happening off the field that you cannot count on him for anything on the field. His last reception of over 30 yards was week 1 of last year. Teams have just figured out against Miami, you play 2 high safety and you take away Hill and Waddle. And Mike McDaniel has yet to adjust in a year. It was pretty much all 2024 and, week 1 of this year. I don't expect that to change in a week, especially with the offensive line being in flux. They're not going to have time for a 5-step drop to throw it long. They're going to have to get it out of their hands quick because it's going to be short passes all day long because they can't hold a block at the line. Hill's a mess. He won't be here in a month or so. He's going to get traded if he's not suspended by the league. He went through I could just go through the laundry list of things, but people just go online under Google, putting Tyreek Hill off the field. You'll see every damn thing. He just went through a divorce that the money he paid in this divorce is like insane. Like he will have no money left when he retires. What he's paying his ex-wife now, 10 kids. And now he just came up this week in a bunch. Now he's being sued this week for 8 instances of domestic violence, which I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. It's just like he don't get the benefit of the doubt with any of this stuff anymore. It's just, I don't know where his head's at. And I think Miami, once this season, which should be like in like 4 or 5 weeks, becomes like officially over, they're going to ship him off to whoever wants him at that point because they're just fed up with him. And on the field, he's just been an ordinary guy the past year or so, partially because of what the offense has turned into and partially because he's a whack job.
No,
say it nicely.
I have plenty of opinions on Tyreek Hill. Not my favorite NFL player of all time. I know Ben just asked you specifically about your expectations for him, and if you have any expectations, I'm gonna broaden it. Do you have any expectations for this Dolphins offense?
Not right now until they show me something. I can't give that. What I saw last week was the same team I saw in 2024. So what makes me think something will change this week? or the week after or the week after. They're going to have to show me to get me to say, oh, maybe things have changed. Because right now I'm just seeing the same team I saw last year, which even when he was out of the lineup at quarterback, Tua, even when he was on the field, the offense really was just kind of ordinary. Again, they can't throw the ball down the field anymore, and that's where they spent all their money, 2 high-priced wide receivers and a high-priced quarterback, because in 2023 they could throw it down the field left and right. Teams have adjusted. They've taken it away. Until I see this head coach adjust, I don't think that I have few expectations for him. And why is because how the team's constructed. They lost all 4 starters in their secondary, and they replaced them. Yes, they got Minka Fitzpatrick back, and he's fine. I could read the names of everyone else in their secondary, and you wouldn't probably recognize them. Their secondary is a mess, which, again, if you can outscore people and win games 35-31, not a problem, which is how they're going to have to win games. But when you can't move the ball, can't score, you're just going to have more games like we saw last week than how they want to play them. I think, they already had a players-only meeting after week 1. A players-only meeting after week 1. What do they talk about every day in camp for a month? They had to have a players-only meeting after week 1. I think it's bad. I think it will get worse. And, yeah. No expectations.
That's fair enough. Now, I know you've already mentioned a few times comparing this year's team to 2024. Could you just put into perspective what that team last year was like? Because I think to the average fan, they know that Dolphins team last year wasn't all that great and really was far from it. But, maybe they see an 8-9 record. They see a couple of close games. Like, that team was close to making the playoffs, even though in reality they probably shouldn't have been as close as they were. Could you?
I'll push back on that a little, because they were 8-9 and Tua missed 6 games. Obviously, which is like a huge if he doesn't miss those games, like they win 3 more games easy, and that's like a 10 or 11 win team. And would they have won in the playoffs? No, because they're not on the caliber of the Ravens, the Bills, or Chiefs, and no one in the AFC is. But that was a 10-win team last year. They had a lot of talent with Holland and Ramsey in the secondary, Jonnu Smith the tight end. Like, they had Armstead at left tackle. Like, that team had real talent. And if it was just they lost so many games because he wasn't their quarterback, that even when he played and it wasn't great on offense, they were still good enough to win. And they had Calais Campbell on line, who was like old, but he played unbelievable last year. Like, that team had a lot of talent, a lot of veterans. The problem with that team last year was, and this goes into Mike McDaniel, a lot of those older vets don't seem to respect the coach. And they weren't showing up on time for meetings. They weren't showing up on time for practice. And, you can find a guy making $20 million a year. He'll pay $1,000 fine. What does he care? It's not going to work. So even when they find him, the certain guys that were acting that way, it didn't work. And then you combine that with the lack of quarterback play once he got hurt to the fact they won 8 games last year kind of is amazing. They played so many games without him at quarterback. And again, like games against Indianapolis last year, Seattle, and there was one more. Like, they would have easily won if he played, because they only lost by like 1 or 2, and it was mainly because they didn't have a quarterback. So that team last year was actually pretty good with all the chaos happening around it. And even though it wasn't perfect, that was a pretty good team. This year's team doesn't have those vets. They have so many rookies in spots that you're going to have rookie growing pains. It is what it is. It's a financial reset / rebuilding year.
So that brings me to the next point. Is Mike McDaniel's job safe? Let's just say before the trade deadline. At the end of the season, obviously he could be on the hot seat, but how safe is Mike McDaniel's job if the Dolphins keep dropping some games, especially to a team this weekend that they have a big history of beating in the last few years?
Yeah, if they lose this weekend, then they come back week 3 on a Thursday night play at the Bills, who they are 1-13 against in their last 14 games. Now, if they lose this weekend, they ain't going to beat the Bills. Let's just be honest. They're going to be 0-3. And then the following week, they play on a Monday night. There's a good chance they make the move after week 3. I know people go, oh, my God, why would you do it after week 3? Why? Because you can sort of see where this is going. And it's just a continuation of last year. That is kind of early still. But there is another spot where the day before Halloween, October 30th, they play the Ravens at home on a Thursday. It'll probably be really bad by then too. You could do it after that when you got 10 days before your next game. Yeah, he ain't making it to November. They got to start winning starting this week, and they better beat the Jets because they ain't beating the Bills, and then they better beat the Panthers, and then they better beat the Chargers. Like, they got to beat some of the teams on their schedule, like Cleveland, the Panthers, the Chargers, who aren't who are solid teams, but they got to win a lot of those games for him to save his job, I think, because I don't think if they're 2-6 heading into like late October, he's done. I mean, what's the point at that point? You might have just ripped the Band-Aid off. I don't see him surviving this. If they lose this week, it's a matter of when, not if. If they win this week, there's a chance if they do beat teams like Atlanta and, the Panthers and Cleveland who are on their schedule in October. Yeah, there's a chance he could survive the season, I guess. But if they lose on Sunday, yeah, he ain't making it to Halloween.
Do you think that's a move that they should have made this past offseason?
It's a complex answer. Short answer is yes, but it ties more to the general manager who has been in Miami in some capacity for 25 years. He's been the general manager for 9 years, and now he's on his third head coach. They should have fired the general manager the day they fired Flores a few years back and done a clean sweep, new GM, new head coach. The fact that they only went halfway there was the mistake. And now, if you fire just the head coach, you can't give this general manager, who's been here for 25 years, general manager for 9 years, who's never won a playoff game with a team that he has put together, a chance to hire a fourth head coach. For the fans, I know for people who don't follow the team, the head coach is sort of the face of the franchise. He gets all the attention. The fans want the general manager gone more than the head coach. So they can fire the head coach, this week, next week, October, end of the year. If the general manager is still here, those fans are going to be very, very upset because he's the root of all of this, and he's got to go before anything will get better.
Now, going to kick it to the chat real quick because we got a question specifically about Hard Rock Stadium. Andy Borregales, the Patriots kicker, didn't look too hot last week. Missed one from 40 yards. Miami alum. They play in Hard Rock, don't they? I'm not making that up. All right, I had to make sure. How is Hard Rock when it comes to being kicker friendly?
As long as it's not raining, which in South Florida, it can rain in 10 minutes and then stop. As long as there's no rain, it's fine. Just watch the rain because in South Florida, it'll rain hard for 10 or 15 minutes. The field will be soaked, and then it'll be nice for an hour, and then it'll rain hard again for 10 or 15 minutes. So it's all about the rain. But if not for that, there's no like wind issues or anything like that, really.
Yeah, Borregales going back where he, again, kicked in college. So hopefully, being back home might spark a fire in him to have a bit of a better performance. We also got another question asking about Travion Henderson. I know this is another one that's very Patriot-centric and complimenting Ben's mustache. But how are we feeling about Travion Henderson in the pass game this week? Or just, I guess, in general?
Yeah, for me, really quick, I'll answer first. It's pretty simple. The Patriots ran the ball 3 times in the second half in week 1, and that has got to change, right? Josh McDaniels said it today in his press conference. The Patriots have to give the ball more to the running backs. That includes Ramondre Stevenson, that includes Travion Henderson, and that includes Antonio Gibson. For my liking, I think Stevenson got the ball a little too much in week 1. He wasn't as productive as I would like. I think that they have to come up with some more dynamic ways to get Henderson the ball, especially maybe on the outside, right? Stevenson's really been the inside the tackle runner, but Henderson works best outside those tackles on those outside zone gap schemes runs instead of those inside runs. So I'm definitely looking for definitely improvement when it comes to getting Henderson the ball and Antonio Gibson the ball in more dynamic ways. But I appreciate the questions and the compliment.
Mike, I'm going to switch this question a little bit for you because looking at the box scores and the stats from Dolphins Colts. I know the Dolphins were playing from behind, but what jumps out the most is only 12 carries as a team, 7 of which went to Davon Achane. What's going on there? Do you think that is going to be a bigger part of the game plan this week against the Patriots?
Yeah, I think they have to run it more. They have to. I don't care what the score is, too, because I think part of it is their secondary is so bad. You got to keep them on the sideline a little bit, and you got to eat some clock and churn some clock, and hopefully get some first downs. So I think that's part of it, to keep their secondary on the sideline, not have them on the field, and also, again, when you got 2 second-string offensive linemen, run blocking is less of an issue. It's the pass blocking where it always becomes ugly. And I'd rather run more than pass, because in the pass blocking, that's where they're going to show their warts. Run blocking in the NFL, it's less, push forward. It's really not that complicated. I love all these shows with the, X's and O's and PFF and this matchup. It's like run blocking, push forward. It's really not that tough. Pass blocking, that's where you get beat bad. So I hope they run it more. This head coach has a history of just not liking running the ball, or even if it's working, he just sees, Hill and Waddle is like too tempting. I got to get the ball in their hands, and he just loves to throw it. But yeah, they should run it more this week, hopefully.
So my question now shifts to a player who just joined Miami, who used to be a star in New England, and that's Matthew Judon, who just signed a 1-year, $6 million contract with the Dolphins. And I kind of want to shift that into some players that you're watching on the Patriots side and then on the Dolphins side to make an impact at the game on Sunday. I know I am looking for Judon just because of his history with the Patriots. But kind of shifting that question to you, Mike, and who do you think is going to make the biggest impact on Miami and New England's side?
Yeah, Judon last week actually played well in the first half. Now, in Miami, he's got like the perfect spot where it's a situational pass rush. He's really their 4th pass rusher behind Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Chubb. So he's not asked to do a lot. But then in the second half, they finally get a stop on defense. The Colts punt, and he gets a running into the kicker, extended the drive. Colts score again. So Judon, he had a good day up until the running into the kicker, even in that loss. I think it's going to be the Miami pass rush. That was probably – so I'm going to say like Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips are the 2 younger guys here. I think that was, out of everything that went so bad last week, the one thing fans of Dolphins were kind of, hanging their hat on this year is we know the secondary's bad. We know that offensive line might not be great, but the pass rush with all the guys I just met should be pretty good. And the Colts blocked it with ease. I think this week at home, that pass rush is going to have a little bit more success, and I think they'll get after the quarterback more. So I'm going to say guys like Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, I'm looking for in Miami to step up, help out the secondary as much as they can by unleashing that pass rush.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that a little bit, but for reasons involving the Patriots, if we're looking at that Miami defensive line, as you mentioned, that's a pretty good group at the very least on paper.
It is.
And the Patriots O-line is not a very good group, at least on paper. They're all right, much better than last year, but the rookies had some struggles in their first game. Morgan Moses and Mike Onwenu also each had some struggles. Really, the best player on that O-line week 1 against the Raiders was Garrett Bradbury, who was expected to be the worst player on that O-line. So I would be looking at that Dolphins D-line / Patriots O-line matchup once again this week, because you have a rookie left tackle, you have a rookie left guard, and then you have veterans everywhere else who you got to see, are these going to be the guys? Like, is Will Campbell going to be your left tackle of the future? Yeah, you're not going to determine that off of this one game, but is he going to show some improvements from last week? Same with Jared Wilson. And then how safe is Garrett Bradbury's job? How's Mike Onwenu doing? Is he earning that big contract that he got a couple of off seasons ago? Is Morgan Moses looking solid, earning that contract he got this past off season? He's on the older side. Is he somebody you might have to replace sooner than you would have wanted to? So that's where I would be looking this week against the Dolphins.
Yeah, one more thing I want to mention too. Which,
Yeah, and
okay.
no, you got it. You got it first. You got it first.
No, just real quick, I'll say this real quick too. And it's one of those things that you don't sort of think about till you turn on the game on Sunday. It's going to be hot. Like, it's going to be next level hot. And I've seen many teams that had more talent than Miami. Not that the Patriots do. I think these two teams are kind of evenly matched, actually. Go down in September at 1:00 games and absolutely melt over the course of 4 quarters. To where in the only win Miami had versus the Bills in the last 14 was a Sunday September game at 1:00 because the Bills just were dropping like flies. Like, I've seen teams melt. So if it's a close game late, those guys for the Patriots might be cramping up. They might not be. It's hot. I've been down there even in October at 1:00. It's hot. September like this, September whatever it is, it's going to be scorcher. So you can't prepare for that. You can say, they always say, you got the tents, you got the fan. It don't help. It is so stinking hot. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is a great point there. And I was just going to say, Zach, I would have picked your same player, Will Campbell. Really looking to see how he matches up against the Miami defensive line. I really don't like doing this, but if you had to put a score prediction on week 2, Mike and Zach, what do you have? I'll go first. I think the Patriots squeak out a win, 21-20. But again, 2 teams who lost in week 1, just looking to get that first win of the season, and I think it's going to be a close one.
Mike, you got it.
Yeah, I gave my mine last night on our show, and as much as I've been so negative and down on the Dolphins, this is it. This is their last chance for me. This is the last. If they burn me this week, I'm probably done picking them. I got 24-21. It's going to be a close game. I mean, again, these two teams are evenly matched. It could go either way. It really is a coin toss. It comes down to Miami, who had this players-only meeting. Will that actually matter? I don't know. But, it was so bad last week, you figure it can't be worse. And they're at home at least. And the heat's on their side, which is true, actually. It's just, I think if they don't win this game, knowing next week on a Thursday at the Bills, this is going to get so ugly so fast that people are going to be out of jobs. And I think they're going to have an answer. No game this year are they going to win by a lot, but I think they find a way to win by 3 at home.
Yeah, so kind of for similar reasons, I mean, this is a big game for the Patriots.
Yep.
A team that had potential wild card expectations largely due to their schedule being quite easy. And then they come out week 1 and just stink it up against the Raiders. This needs to be a win for the Patriots. You can't start the year off 0-2. And especially as a team that doesn't have a ton of talent. If this was the Bengals and they started 0-2, whatever, you're the Bengals, right? You have talent. They were able to show that last year. I know they barely missed the playoffs, but at least that's a team who could bounce back because of the talent. The Patriots aren't that. You need to start off 1-1 if you want any chance at a successful season. I'm going to go 28-20 Patriots. Hopefully they have some urgency. I think the Dolphins will as well, but I'm hoping that a little extra bit of physicality, plus the Dolphins' defensive back room being pretty thin.
Oh, it stinks. Just say it stinks. It stinks. You ain't got to be that nice.
The Dolphins having a terrible defensive
That's
back
it.
room and O-line, not quite as bad of an O-line as the defensive backs, but still, those are places where the Patriots should look to take advantage of. Patriots defensive line last week was great. Harold Landry currently leads the NFL in sacks. Milton Williams also was top 3, I believe, in pressure rate among interior defensive linemen.
After week one.
Plus, you still have Christian Barmore. Keon White, if he plays, he hasn't been practicing. That's a good group. Caleb Von Chason. I'm hoping that they can really mess with the Dolphins' offensive line, get to Tua, simulate some of that pressure that the Colts had last week, and hopefully it makes a true impact. Again, 28-20 Patriots is my prediction. But with that, Mike, I want to say thank you very much for coming on to our show, giving your analysis, sharing that with us, and being able to put up with 2 Patriots fans. I mean,
Hey, should we make a prediction on Friday night? Syracuse versus Colgate. I think the point spread's like 28.
Syracuse by a million. Syracuse by a
No
million.
Yasin Willis. That's tough.
Oh, really?
No
He's
Yasin
out?
Willis. Yeah. He I think he got like shaken up in the first quarter
Well,
last
it shouldn't
game,
matter,
and
but I'll say this. If they win by like 14 or less, he's going to have them running laps outside the stadium this week.
yeah, that's a good point.
all right, well let's do that real quick. I'll go. Gee, I don't even know. Like,
I can't even know. I'll do.
It's going to be
look at the
ugly. They
spread.
should win by a ton.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'll take Syracuse by 21. That's what I'm gonna take.
Oh, I'll
By
take
around
Syracuse by
21.
like 40. I mean, it's Colgate.
37-10.
Yeah, I'm more like, I think it's going to be ugly because whatever happened last week at the end of the game, something clicked on offense at least. So I think that'll probably carry over this week. And then when he puts in the second stringers, probably around the third quarter, they're going to be hungry too. So I think they're going to win like 44-10 or something, like some crazy score like that.
Hopefully.
44. I didn't even think of it. Yeah.
Nice. There we go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I know I'll be there. Ben, I'm sure you'll be there. Should be a good time. Probably not quite as good of a game as UConn was, but
no,
a win is a win, and hopefully that's one that we can pencil in relatively early. So
I got a question for you here.
Yeah.
Which I know we're going long. Halloween night. Are you guys rooting for Syracuse or are you guys going to root for Bill Belichick?
Oh, I have the man on my shirt right now, and I'm still rooting for Syracuse.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Easily.
I think that's gonna be one of the best games of the season.
Absolutely.
To be completely honest.
That'll be a fun one.
Absolutely.
I mean, all of Syracuse's like tough opponents are away this year.
I know.
So
that's a problem.
UNC is the one I'm looking forward to.
Yep. That's probably the best home game because he's coming here. Who would have thought Bill Belichick ever walk in the dome to coach a game? Never thought I'd see it in my life.
Yeah.
Man, that's going to be a good night. It's going to be a good night.
Absolutely. Well, look, I really appreciate you coming on, Mike, like Zach just said. And for those those of us watching who want to find your work, can you just, do a little tag of where we can find you?
Yeah, go to the website, dolphinstalk.com. You can follow me on all social media, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, wherever, at Dolphins Talk.
Awesome.
Sweet. And with that, guys, we are going to wrap up our weekly. There we go. Zach just have it. Dolphins Talk at Dolphins Talk. There we go. Appreciate everyone for watching, and we will see you either later this week or next week.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Mike.